when we're talking about these people that are living in these encampments, and most of them are in tents, what kind of money are these people collecting from the government? Are they getting some kind of relief? And if so, what is it and how much?
So there are some, and I would say this is certainly a minority that may get, some food stamps. Others may get not direct cash, but they may get Medicaid, and some with children may get Medicare. There are some that get Social Security benefits, and then we also have veterans, and some veterans will get a veteran disability check at a percentage. So there are some who get resources. Most are there because they have not gotten connected to those resources. So they qualify for all of those benefits, but they haven't been connected to them. So some work in day labor. So they go out and they get the temporary job and, make a minimum wage. Some actually have full-time jobs. One study several years ago found that up to 40% of the people that were homeless worked every day. And what happens with those people is they attract the predators. Sometimes drug dealers show up. Sometimes the loan sharks show up. They know when people get paid, and they victimize those people when they get those resources.
One of the problems that exist here in LA on Skid Row is they know exactly when these people get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So the drug dealers from the gangs show up.
They do.
The day they get paid. And often it's rival gangs which are in a turf war to control that area, and they show up at the same time, and then they have conflict. Now all of these people that are living on Skid Row on the sidewalks and all get caught up in the crossfire of this, and you'll have people get shot, get stabbed, get hurt because of these warring factions that are there to control the drug trade.
Exactly.
But those people will get paid in the morning and their money's gone in an hour.
Yes.
Because the predators swoop in there and get their money, and now they're broke until the next payday.
And therein lies another issue, and that's the issue of treatment for substance abuse, or mental health services, which we severely lack in this country. Some of those drug dealers are so insidious. What they will do is give people, testers, they call them, and expect, or they'll give people the drugs prior to the check coming the day before. So they, that person ends up owing a whole check. And, this is America. And this is the kind of environment that people with medical issues, substance abuse and mental health are both medical issues. And we should be providing the resources that are necessary for people. You also have people leaving the foster care system. You have children who are emancipated from foster care with no survival skills, no independent living skills, and they end up in the sex trade and all kinds of other situations because we don't have a response for them. We do have Section 8 vouchers that they can access, but somebody has to talk to them about them.
Well, that's the thing. They age out of the system, and a lot of foster parents are loving, caring, and giving, but a lot of them are assembly line also. And
Yes.
the day that kid ages out, goodbye.
No more contact.
Yeah, no more contact.
And that is another issue that people should understand. If for the lack of a safety net, for the lack of, if you or I get into some kind of situation, whether it be a health situation or a financial situation, someone in our family would probably be there to help us through that situation.
Of course.
They give us a spare room or a couch or money or whatever. Most of the people in the homeless population are those people that don't have anybody. Either they've lost contact with their relatives, or they're people who have burned bridges. But for some reason, they don't have that safety net to fall back on. And the place that should provide that is the federal government. And we just have seen a resistance, a lack of effort towards that. And that's what continues to perpetuate this issue.
Is there a country that has this figured out?
There are some European countries that have done a much better job. Finland is one example. And the thing about Finland is that they have a right to housing, and they have the housing and supportive services, the Housing First program. The difference with their Housing First is it's housing first for everybody. If you become homeless, you get a housing unit. And so, and then they attach whatever supportive services are necessary. We have permanent supportive housing. You have to qualify. You have to have a disability. You have to be homeless for a year consecutively, or have had 4 episodes in 3 years. So that's about 10 to 20% of the population nationally. So that's who's getting those permanent supportive housing units, which leaves 80 to 90% of the population who have to really kind of find it on their own, because we stopped doing shelter in most of our communities. Los Angeles really kind of cut back on shelters, and we don't have the kind of transitional housing programs. So there's this whole, the majority of people don't have a real solution.
If the government steps up and say they come with $25 billion or whatever would be the dream scenario to provide permanent, stable housing for, pick a number, 5 million homeless. This is, I know, all hypothetical and a pipe dream, but let's say that happens. What is the balance where you get away from the non-contingent situation of just giving people a house, giving people an apartment, giving people a dwelling? The antithesis of that is people that are really compromised in a dire situation having to qualify. That's not the answer, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of it is you just show up and we'll give you a free place to live. That seems to have a flaw in being a disincentive for people to take pride in what they're given. They have no sweat equity in it. They haven't done anything other than to be disadvantaged. How do we motivate those people where they say, okay, I've been given a break here, and by golly, I'm going to hang on to this. I'm going to make this work. This is a launch pad. This isn't a soft place to fall. This isn't a hammock. This is a place to lay my head until I can get on my feet.
Sure. I think there's a number of things. So first, one thing is that any of those housing units, if people do have an income source, they do have to pay into that housing. So you pay 30% of your income. So people on Social Security, people with minimum wage jobs, they're still paying some portion of that. But it goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once you stabilize them in their housing, everything else kind of filters up from there. So people do take pride in that housing, and people do aspire for greater levels of success, depending on how you determine that. So I think the incentive becomes, once you put people in a community, people do try to mimic or emulate what other people in that community are doing. And once you stabilize them, they'll look to be the best. People want to be the best that they can be. Sometimes the barriers are so hard to overcome that they never make it there. But if we give them, the opportunities to stabilize themselves, they'll work on the other things.